Long ball from Tarbell. Handled by Bernardes. Bernardes leading Ameriqua. The shot. The rejection. The Wando. The cross. Arena buries it. Arena buries it. Arena buries it. 3-2 San Jose. Sunday's hero, Marco Arena.
Go Arena! Joe Cannon lost his mind on decision day, and rightfully so. The San Jose Earthquakes sneaking into the 2017 Audi MLS Cup playoffs, and we are here because the main event starts tonight. On Wednesday and Thursday, the knockout rounds go down, and I cannot wait. It is my favorite time of the year. I am Andrew Wiebe, and this is MLS Playoffs Central, presented by Audi. Every single match night of the 2017 playoffs, we will be right here, guys. Pregame, postgame, 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after, myself or Susanna Collins will guide you through it all. Just a note here, Susanna is out in Chicago tonight, her hometown, and she will have Dax McCarty later. So stick around, stick with us. Jillian Sakovits is out in Vancouver as well. We'll talk to Carl Robinson in just a little bit, but it's all about the games, right? That's what we're here for, and it starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Chicago Fire hosting the New York Red Bulls. You can also watch that one on Unimas SAP if you need that one. And up in Canada, TSN and TVA Sports. And then the nightcap in Vancouver at BC Place. The San Jose Earthquakes try to pull off the upset against the Caps. 10:30 p.m. Eastern, Unimas in the U.S., SAP once again for those of you who need English. And then in Canada, TVA Sports and TSN. I am joined by my best friends in soccer, I'll say. And yes, Kaylin,
I say that to everybody.
I do. I throw the flattery on for everybody who comes on this panel. You know Kaylin well. He's the host of The Movement. You remember all those years in MLS, rocking the helmet, scoring goals, won an MLS Cup as well. Matt Doyle, to my left, the armchair analyst, noted Catman, and dare I say, our technical, tactical
guru.
X's and guru. That's what you want.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what
all right. We'll stick with what you want here. And last but not least, the guy I've been waiting to hang out with for a solid week here, Marlon Harrison. You see the highlights here. He does it on the right flank for the Colorado Rapids. He is the pride of Jackson, Mississippi. Go check out that Movement episode. A little plug for you there. And Marlon, last year, this time, you guys were watching from home because you got a bye. Right. Colorado Rapids chasing the Supporter Shield till the very last day of the season. Tell me what it's like from a player's perspective to sit there, get ready to know you have one thing you're chasing, the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy, and you could win it.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. This is the time of year that, you come into the season fighting for. All that work that you put into preseason and throughout the season, you wanted to pay some type of dividends at the end of the year. And the locker room was a great environment to be in. That week of training coming into this week, it was thrilling. And, having had such a good record, throughout the season, we knew that we were going to give ourselves a good chance to get some home games in the playoffs. And we were able to do that. And home field advantage was big for us.
It is huge. It is massive in the knockout round. It all starts tonight. 2 games tonight, 2 games on Thursday. Winner go home. 13 of 16 home teams all time have advanced. And you got to stick with us for all the information on both of these games. Susanna will be with us in just a little bit from Toyota Park with Dax McCarty. And then from Vancouver, Jillian Sakovits with the head coach of the Whitecaps, Carl Robinson. And remember, this show is for you. Yes, we're sitting here. Yes, we have some experts, but you can also play the expert as well. Use the Hot Take Hotline, 401-206-0MLS. Call or text. Our own Ben Bear of Extra Time Radio fame is checking that one out. Guys, let's get right into it, and let's talk about the Earthquakes, because this is a team that, quote, crashed the party. They had been down and out for most of the second half of the year after they let go of Dom Kinnear and went to Chris Leach. The results, let's be honest, they didn't follow until recently. Then they snuck into the playoffs, had that dramatic moment that we saw there. But, Matt, that negative 21 goal differential, that's what everybody's talking about. Yeah. And everybody is saying, I'm not sure. I think these guys are going to be, I think they're just going to get run over.
It does feel a little bit like they're maybe roadkill, because that is such an outstandingly bad number. Negative 21 is the worst anyone's ever had and made the playoffs. But I don't think they're that team. I think that they made a concerted effort to go out on the road and play open and play for the win, because wins are the first tiebreaker in getting to the playoffs. It's not goal differential. It's not total goals. So I think they played it smart, but it means they're going to have to play an entirely different type of game now than they have been over the last couple of months.
I beg to differ. They just have to do what they did 2 weeks ago.
That's fair.
When they went up to Vancouver and drew 1-1 away. So to me, the playoffs are about momentum. San Jose, there's no team in MLS with that much momentum, coming off the energy and enthusiasm of a late winner. And Vancouver's trending the other direction with 1 win in their last 5, have really sort of stumbled their way down into this play-in game. I think San Jose, they need to get off to a good start in this one, but they got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, look, here's the question mark with the San Jose Earthquakes. Who's going to score the goals?
Right.
Because Wando does what he does. He gets double digits. The rest of them, Marlon, it's been a little bit of a question mark as to where those will come from. When you guys game plan for this team, what are you talking about beforehand? Who are you saying, 2 guys on him, watch him in the open field? What are the highlighters getting out for?
Having a little bit of experience playing against San Jose, with them being in our conference, we get the opportunity to play against them, 2 or 3 times a year, and
Wando's got to be the first name, right?
Yeah. Every time Wando's the first name on the team sheet. As far as guys that we need to watch out for, and guys that can be a threat to us. A lot of times during the games, you're focused on where the ball is, but Wando, he kind of makes his money being off to the ball, and for some reason, the ball always finds him.
It's because he's a Jedi. It's because he has force powers, and he does this Jedi mind trick that makes defenders forget he exists. Because no man who has 140 career goals should get so many completely undefended tap-ins at the back post. We've watched him do it almost 10 years now. I still don't know how he manages it. It really is.
Kaylin, this is the lineup that Chris Leach has gone to over the last 3 games, and it's been an issue for them. Consistency in the 11. He finally found a group that he thinks works, and you can see it here. It's Wando up top, but he floats. Danny Hoyson is that number 9. He leads the line. He got a goal last week against Minnesota. But I think Vako is the guy that really is kind of the wild card here. If he performs, they've got an opportunity. If he doesn't, maybe a little bit of trouble creating chances.
Well, he's come in well and done a good job, of course, with the finish up in the road in Vancouver just 2 weeks ago. But I like Houston as well. I think he gives them really a lot of work rate up top. He's able to create problems just by his effort, and he's got some pace to be able to get in behind. And then off the bench, you've got Arena and Quincy Amarikwa, 2 guys also that are going to be able to come in and change the game. So a lot of their it's not always the most complicated passing structure to get up there, but they do have some weapons up there, especially with their speed.
Yeah, they're on form right now. Last 3 games, they beat Portland, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They drew with Vancouver and got that dramatic win against Minnesota. Let's go to our own Jillian Sakovits with more on this game.
Andrew, you really couldn't have 2 teams more on the opposite ends of the spectrum right now. Momentum is on the side of the Quakes, and rightfully so. They are 2-0-1 over their last 3, and that draw came from a late goal right here at BC Place. As for the Vancouver Whitecaps, they are feeling the heat. They are winless in their last 3, missing many opportunities to clinch that top seed in the Western Conference and bringing them to tonight's knockout round. I had a chance to catch up with their head coach, Carl Robinson, just a moment ago. Here's what he had to say. Coach, tonight the biggest game of the season for Vancouver. How does this team get back to playing the way that they did most of the regular season?
It's a good question. It is the next game, and it could be the only game if we don't take care of business. So I'll instill them with confidence before the game. They've got to go out and produce and limit mistakes, because in the last couple of games we made too many mistakes.
What type of changes can we expect tonight?
Well, you can expect as strong a team as I can put out. The attacking players are what I've wanted for the last few weeks, but I haven't been able to have them. But I want us to play open. I want us to play free, and I want to cause San Jose a lot of problems.
Coach, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Robinson also did confirm that Freddie Montero is fit to play the full 90 tonight. Guys, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jillian. He said limit mistakes. And they're in this position where one mistake could send them home. And that's because, as she said, over the last 3, but really over the last 5, Matt, they just didn't get the job done. They had an opportunity to seal this top seed multiple times. I got in a little bit of a tiff with their social media people when I said, hold on. Yes, you're in first place, but let's see how long this lasts.
Nobody does petty the way Andrew does petty.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. What happened?
Honestly, it's the difference between being on the road versus being at home. When things got going good for the Caps, it was because they had 6 of 7 at home. When they got going bad for the Caps, it's because they had 4 or 5 on the road. This league is just brutal to away teams. And look, I think they're disappointed, obviously, that they didn't claim that top spot, but at least they still have the home game tonight, and we know the numbers. We know what happens in the knockout round. Home teams have won 13 of 16 games all time.
Yeah, like that's 81%. I just want to throw this fact out there. A little factoid for you. Vancouver Whitecaps have earned the fewest points at home of any 2017 Audi MLS Cup playoff team. That's incredible. The fewest points at home. Kalen, they're going to rely on a man who has not had a lot of luck in the playoffs. That's Freddie Montero. He drives this team, but in 4 years with Seattle, nada, zip, zero. He's got to show up tonight.
Well, it's good to hear that he'll be ready to go 90 from the start from his manager there. But yeah, he makes this team go. He's been able to drop off deep and be able to sort of facilitate Jordi Reyna filling those slots. But as he's going to take this team as far as they're going to go. 12 goals in the regular season, or actually 13, excuse me. And he's really been the focal point of their attack. They haven't had that one finishing piece in seasons past that has been someone they can rely on in the playoffs. So Vancouver will be hoping he's that piece today.
Yeah, a new face as well, Jordi Reyna. He has become a difference maker for this team after suffering for the first half of the year with injury. Marlon, I know he's a guy that when you look at this team, when you match up, you start to say, who do I got to worry about? He's number one on that list.
Yeah, for sure. He brought that connective, creative piece that this Vancouver team needed. And, he came in, after an injury this year, and he created a spark for this team. And after having played them a couple times this year, he caused a couple problems for us. And set pieces, he has a good delivery. And when he has the ball, he has really, really clean feet. And he's ultimately been a good piece for them.
That pieces matter. Kendall Waston is an absolute weapon. Guys, I'm going to send you to the board right now, Marlon and Matt. Go show me what you see from Jordi Reyna, because if there's one guy that you got to watch tonight, it's got to be him. He has been absolutely incredible since coming back from injury.
You mentioned set pieces matter. That's where the Caps do a lot of damage. The other place they do a lot of damage is on the break. And a lot of it comes from this man on the ball right here, Tony Tchani. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league at spreading the field. We know he hits a long diagonal, which is exactly what he does right here.
Yeah, great pass from him to Chera, great run. When he stops, you stop the ball here. It's totally left-footed. He comes inside, Breck Shea. He makes a diagonal run. A couple defenders, looking at the ball. Nowinski with a great run overlapping.
And this man right here, Jordi Reyna, everybody forgets he exists because everybody gets pulled to the ball.
Yeah, the late run kills it. The defenders are all facing the ball. Great pass across the face of the goal, and easy tap in for Jordi Reyna.
It's not a bad goal. That's what the Caps do. You can't let them run or they will kill you.
Yeah, they will. That is their identity at home. Counterattack, set pieces. Kendall Waston, of course, the guy that they're going to have to mark on the front there. I think double team is probably in order. We'll have to see what San Jose do. Perhaps Bernardez will match up. Kalen, give me the San Jose side. Into predictions here, but first I want you to make the case. San Jose will win. Why? What will they do at the end of this game, throughout this game, to walk away with a spot in the semifinals?
Well, like I said, they just got to follow the same formula that they played 2 weeks ago. Leach will have his guys compact behind the ball, not allowing what you just saw on the screen to take place. You're going to have to defend wide. Shea Salinas will have to be alert on that right-hand side. And the later and later this game goes, the better San Jose has got to feel. So for me, it's just hold the fort and then try and win one late.
And I want to build on that. That goal that Marco Urania scored last week, Victor Bernardez won the header and made the play. And Chris Wondolowski had the assist. Marco Urania got the goal. Those three guys are World Cup veterans. They're not going to be shook. They are not going to be at all intimidated by the moment, by the crowd, by anything that Vancouver throws at them.
Give me the reasoning why Vancouver wins this.
I like Vancouver at home. They're a tough team to beat there when they're playing their style of play. They like to keep a great structure behind the ball, and they look to get out and get on a break against teams. And for the most part of the season, it's helped for them. And it's been a great weapon for them to have.
Yeah, the late season form for both these teams has been divergent, which is interesting considering we had kind of pegged them early in the season. Vancouver, it seemed, was not in the running, and then they came up, had a nice run late in the season, and got up the number one spot. This is Steve Finn out there. You should follow him on Twitter, @StatHunting. He's saying, Doyle, that late season form is actually a fallacy, that it doesn't actually lead to MLS Cup success. That doesn't jive with what the commonly accepted logic is.
Yeah, momentum is a tough thing to really quantify, and I don't think anybody's done it. And look, we've seen it in the past. The 2014 Galaxy came to mind because that was one of the best teams I've ever seen, but they were kind of in October. They were great from June through September, but then they turned it back on again in the playoffs. So just because you've done well the last 3 games, or maybe even the last 10 games if you're Columbus, doesn't mean you're automatically going to spin that forward when the games are really good.
They don't need to go all the way.
No.
You just want the
need to win
okay.
tonight.
Yeah. Are they going to win tonight?
I have San Jose winning tonight.
Oh, upset?
Upset, yeah. I think for me, they've got a result on the road, so that means, Marlon, in the locker room, they got to be feeling good, knowing we just have to do what we did before. Not to mention, coming off their huge emotional win, I think you turn around 3 days later, you still got that spirit in the group. San Jose wins.
So he's going against Chalk, Marlon. Are you going Chalk? Top seed, Vancouver
Yeah, I'm
going to
sure
win?
San Jose has a lot of energy in their locker room right now. Like you said, coming off a big win on Sunday, but
yeah, there's the butt.
I'm
There's the
feeling
butt, right? Yeah.
Vancouver at home, 1-0. I give it to them.
All right, 1-0.
I think it'll be Vancouver, but I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to end up being 3-2. Maybe we get some extra time as well. Maybe we see the 4th sub for the first time.
Great game for the fans.
San Jose loses in extra time.
Right?
Hey, remember, there's a
Steven
4th sub.
Lenhart's not walking through that door. Alan Gordon's not walking through that door.
For this one. They won't need it, though. I think Vancouver gets the job done. I think it will be low scoring here. I am praying for goals, though. Wando, prove me wrong, man. Make this thing exciting. Chicago is going to host the Red Bulls in the first match of the day. That's the nightcap. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can watch this one on FS1. Unimas in the U.S. using that SAP button. You can get English, or in Canada, TVA Sports and TSN. Here are the scenes from Toyota Park right now. Getting stretched out. Dax McCarty is the man of the hour, ultimately, guys. And he is the one that we're all watching for one reason. And I think we know this. People are out there on Twitter saying, hey, this might be a drinking game during the broadcast because this is going to be the well that those guys go back to over and over and over. But there's a reason for that. This was a huge trade for both of these franchises, and it signaled intent on Chicago's side. They go out, get a veteran, somebody who'd been a leader on a Supporter Shield winning team, a playoff team. And then for the Red Bulls, they said, you know what, we think we can do it without him. They're in the 6th spot, Chicago in the 3 spot. That trade worked out for the Fire.
Well, this was their captain. He was the life of the club. He was the one everyone looked to when you needed a goal or a leadership moment. And now he's gone, and that's paid dividends for Chicago. Of course, they hadn't been in the playoffs since 2012, and now find themselves in the 3rd spot with a home game at Toyota Park where they've won 12 games this season.
Yeah, hey, Marlon, when you saw this trade go down, did you raise your eyebrow a little bit? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was caught off guard a little bit, as I'm sure everyone was. A bit surprising. That New York team, they did really well last year, and Dax McCarty was a big piece to that. So to see him, being traded, he only helped the Chicago team become even better.
And you've played against him a bunch, and you know how vocal he is and how he organizes the guys around him.
Right.
To me, that's one of the defining things about this Chicago team.
Yeah, for sure. He's come into the Chicago team this year and turned them right around.
Yeah.
Playing against him and being on the field, you could just hear his voice, consistently for 90 minutes. And that's something that, that Chicago team thrived off of. Leadership that he and Schweinsteiger brought to this group. And, ultimately, they were both really good on the ball. And, when you have attacking pieces up front like Akam, Nikolic, Luis Solinak, guys like that, you're going to have a successful season.
Okay, when you've been in the playoffs a lot in your career, how much does that experience matter when you get to that stage of the season to have a guy like Dax who can bring a team around him that hasn't been there since 2012 and say, guys, this is the deal. I'm setting the tone. We've got one game to prove it. We got to get to the semifinals. Nelson Rodriguez says, look, just getting there is not good enough. What's he going to be saying tonight in that locker room?
Well, I think people are going to be looking to him, obviously, for that experience. But the experience matters in moments. It's not just in the locker room.
Sure.
It's on the field. It's understanding that every loose ball could lead to something much bigger. But I like the fact that Nelson Rodriguez has this quote saying the playoffs aren't good enough. And I think that's echoed by Dax McCarty. He's never said that that's just good enough. Obviously he hasn't gotten his championship yet, but the fact that he's setting the bar for this team, I think, says a lot about why they brought him in.
No surprise here. The Audi player spotlight tonight, Dax McCarty. He's coming to that Fire team and helped them turn things around. It was not a worst to first storyline, but it certainly was worse to much better than years past. You can see there that team ranking going from 17th to 5th. Meanwhile, New York, while losing him, goes from 6th to 13th. Dax McCarty Oh, man, what he has meant to the Fire this year cannot be measured. But let's go to the board. Matt and Marlon are there to try to break down what he brings.
Kalen, my man, in 2017, when I think about the Chicago Fire, I think about a team that wants the ball a ton and uses it. It goes from touchline to touchline. But there's always that guy in the middle quarterbacking, isn't there?
Well, yeah, he's got a big gap here. You see the box. He does it in the back of the field, but here you see him further advanced, is able to pick his head up and switch the point of attack. Brandon Vincent, so good at getting forward, stretches the field long. Dax left-footed ball. That creates a space underneath for Nemanja Nikolic. He doesn't finish this one, but 24 times this season.
Yeah.
He's dangerous.
He's a guy who you want the ball on his foot. Of course, you want the ball on Dax McCarty's foot as well, and people forget. He's not just a defensive midfielder. He actually came up as a number 10, so he can both see and deliver the final ball, especially if you don't put pressure on him. There's Dax. There's Nemanja Nikolic. A little point right there.
I see a little point there.
Yeah, he's saying, play it here. But most importantly, here are the two lines of Columbus defense that get split with one ball. This is just a brilliant pass, and when you put the ball on his foot in the box, what happens, Kalen?
Goals.
Yeah.
24 of them this season. Let's check in with somebody who is most excited about Chicago Fire being back in the playoffs. My co-host, Susanna Collins from Toyota Park.
Thanks, guys. All right, Dax, Chicago playing in its first playoff game since 2012. I know you said it was a lazy narrative to talk about the fact that you're playing against your former team, but with so much experience in the playoffs with the Red Bulls, are your emotions tonight any different than they would be for other playoff games that you've experienced?
Maybe a little bit, but not too much. I think it would affect me probably a little bit more if I was a little bit younger, but I've been doing this a long time. I've been around the block before. I have been traded before, so these are all things that I've gone through. Obviously, emotional with the guys on the other side of the field, but like the two games I've already played against them before that, I put that aside and focus on the task at hand, which is just to win the game in advance.
A loss and a draw against the Red Bulls this season. They've kind of been a team in transition as they've adjusted to life without you, to be honest. What are you expecting to see from them tonight? How do you control that attack with BWP?
Yeah, well, I've said, a couple times before that I think this is probably the toughest draw we could have gotten because of how much respect I have for that team and how good I really think they are. But it starts and ends with Brad and Sasha. I mean, obviously they have other guys on the field that can hurt you, but those two guys are they're the key. And Sasha, with the season that he's had, leading the league in assists again, his connection with Brad is unbelievable. And those two guys have been a deadly tandem in MLS now for a number of years, and they're going to be the key to shut down. So I'm going to have a big job on my hands trying to corral Sasha in there. He's not too fast, but he's pretty crafty, so I'm going to have to make sure I know where he is at all times.
Dax, thanks for your time. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Guys?
Dax versus Sasha. Here's the Red Bulls coming out. Dax McCarty's former teammates got a lot to play for tonight. Of course, MLS Cup is the ultimate prize for this club. They'll have to start out on the road. As Matt said, 13 of 16 home teams have won, so the odds are against them in this one. Matt, Sasha v. Dax? That is a juicy, juicy matchup. Does anyone have the edge here? Both these guys know each other.
I think neither is going to look at it as an individual battle. It has to be system, organization. And both these teams know exactly what they're about. They know exactly how they want to play. Right now, I do feel like the Red Bulls have a little bit of an edge because they got their other difference maker, Daniel Royer. They got him healthy back in the last 3 weeks or so. Bastian Schweinsteiger, meanwhile, on the bench for this one. That's a big loss.
Huge, huge loss. We'll get to the Fire in just a second. You can see BWP here banging in goals, but he doesn't have any for the Red Bulls, Kalen, in the playoffs since, I think, 2014. The pressure is on, despite the fact they're in that 6th seed, and I think it falls squarely on BWP's shoulders and Question's shoulders. They got to perform.
Well, I'd argue, actually, the pressure is off of the Red Bulls. They've been Supporter Shield winners, favorites in the East. Now they're in the 6th seed. Everyone's talking about Toronto, Atlanta, some of the other teams in the NYCFC, and even Chicago.
You don't think there's like an end of a cycle maybe coming here? We heard Oscar Pareja say that with his team. We thought they were young. There come a time when you get over in your 30s, and we're both there. I know it's tough, but where you say, look, we may not have that many chances left. We've got to find a way to get it done right now.
Sasha, 17 assists. BWP, when you take out the penalty kicks, is right up there for the Golden Boot. I don't see the end is near here. I think they've revamped, of course, bringing in some young pieces like Long and Adams, but not the same team as they were before. And I think that could actually help them here, where they can have some of that weight of expectations is always been too much for the Red Bulls in the past, and now it's the 6th seed. They're playing a little bit with house money.
But now you're putting more expectations on them, Kalen.
They're not listening to me.
Complicated web you weave. Tyler Adams is a guy I want to talk about here because Landon Donovan was on this show 2 weeks ago, and he said, Marlon, that this is a guy he expected to be on the U.S. World Cup roster. Of course, that won't happen. It's still hurting from that one. But when you see this young guy, what sort of talent does he have? What sort of future do you think he has? And I think he's got a big role to play tonight.
Yeah, that's a big shout from Landon. And Tyler Adams has been a kid that's, lately he's shown up big time for the New York Red Bulls. He's very versatile, played numerous positions for them. And as of late, we've seen him, get a couple assists. He's been on the end of a couple crosses, scored a couple goals. And, he's been a guy that New York Red Bulls have been dependent on, and despite his age, he's come up big for them.
He's got a lot of dog in him, too.
He does.
He likes to go out there and get in scraps, which is fun to watch.
Tonight is a night to fight. You have 90 minutes in the knockout round to get this thing done. Otherwise, you're going home. Susanna Collins is out in Chicago with Tyler Adams. Let's go to that.
Thanks, guys. All right, Tyler, you're getting ready for your first ever playoff game with the team that you grew up watching. You're a homegrown player. Can you describe the emotions that you're going to feel when you take the field tonight?
Yeah, I think this whole season has been a whirlwind for myself. A lot of emotions, like you said, growing up here while in New York, playing for Red Bulls my whole life, and now having the chance to represent them in my first ever playoff game. A lot of emotions for me, but I'm excited for it.
You guys had a draw and a win against the Chicago Fire team. We know that Nemanja Nikolic obviously won the Golden Boot. They got some firepower up front. What is going to be the key for you guys in maintaining that attack?
Yeah, well, we know Chicago is a good team. They have a lot of different threats. Obviously now with Dax in the midfield to pull the strings as well, he's a key player for them. And yeah, like you said, Nikolic is a good goal scorer, so we're going to have to stop him. But yeah, with pace out wide like a calm, we also have to shut them down. But I think with the new formation, it gives us flexibility in order to stop them. So we're excited.
You mentioned Dax. I saw you post on Instagram a little picture of you guys going to war in a game. He said, "At me next time," having a little fun there pregame, knowing the type of player that he is, being the captain of the Red Bulls for so long. What are you anticipating from him tonight?
Yeah, well, Dax not just being a role model for me growing up, obviously a little bit of banter between the two of us before the game. But yeah, I'm excited to go against him. Obviously, when we get on the field, it's all business, but we're excited.
Thanks for the time, Tyler. Good luck.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
A role model for me growing up. There's a little bit of ageism, a little bit of shade just casually being thrown by Tyler Adams. That is the first game of the night. The Fire hosting the Red Bulls, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, basically right now. FS1, Unimas if you want it. In Spanish, also SAP an option there. And in Canada, TSN and TVA Sports. Guys, let's make our predictions. But first, Matt, make some cases here for the Red Bulls. How do they win this game?
They put the Fire under pressure from the first kick. They keep them in that shell, and they capitalize on turnovers up the middle. Red Bulls are still a high-pressing team, and when they get it going well, they're tough to beat.
We got some breaking news here. I'm coming through the ears here. BWP has left the field during warm-ups. He tweaked his ankle. Apparently he's fine, but we have to pay attention to see. That's coming from Katie Witham from FS1. Make sure you watch that broadcast for all the updates. But that is huge news. Does that affect the predictions here? How it has to, right? Yeah, I mean, look, he says he's fine, but he left warm-up. So that introduces a little bit of, I am a little bit anxious right now for Red Bulls fans.
Yeah, well, he's their leading scorer, of course. Everything goes through him. So definitely one to monitor. But I think Chicago, to me, will try and starve service to him, whether he's on the field. Obviously, it'll be a lot easier if he's not. But I think this game will be decided in the center of midfield.
All right, tell me who wins. Give me some reasoning here.
I've got Chicago. I think Dax McCarty in that center of midfield. Too much of the Red Bulls at times goes narrow. I think the one thing to watch out for them is set pieces. Jesse always has a little bit of a wrinkle up his sleeve, but I'm picking Chicago. They've been better at home.
Marlon, who are you going with? Does BWP affect your pick?
Nah, I'm going to stick with my pick. I'm going to go 2-1 New York Red Bull.
Woo! Yeah. All right. Why is that? How do they get it done?
I just like the form they're in right now. As you guys said earlier, a little bit lesser expectations with them being a 6th seed this year going into the playoffs. And I think everything, with the new formations that they have going, I think, those pieces are going to fit. And you mentioned some big players other than Sasha and Brad, so I think Royer come up big.
Yeah, Royer and perhaps Gonzalo Verón, who's actually been very, very good down the stretch here. I'm with Marlon. I think it'll be 2-1 Red Bulls. I think they will force those turnovers in bad spots, and then suddenly it's 4 or 5 guys running the other direction with Sasha delivering the final ball.
I'm going Red Bulls as well. BWP says he's going to be okay, and I trust him, okay? We'll see you on FS1 in just a second. Big thanks to these guys. We'll be back after both the games tonight, every single night of the postseason, right here, MLS Playoff Central, presented by Audi. We are your source for the pregame and postgame show. Here are the scenes in Chicago. The playoffs start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern right now. FS1, Unimas in the U.S., TSN, and TVA Sports up there in Canada. Should be a great opening game, and I cannot wait for the nightcap. The Vancouver Whitecaps hosting the San Jose Earthquakes at BC Place, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. A solid 4 hours of playoff soccer for you. This one on Unimas. The SAP button is there for you in TSN and TVA Sports as well. Reminder, we will be back at 10:30. We'll watch the game, and then at 12:30, East Coasters, I hope you're still up with us. We'll be right back here to break these games down and react. It should be a whole lot of fun. Call the Hot Take Hotline. Text the Hot Take Hotline, 401-206-0MLS. And, of course, the MLS app is there for you. Maybe you're stuck at dinner with the in-laws. Whatever it may be, all the scores right in your pocket all the time. That is it from us. We'll be back in just a little bit, everybody. Enjoy the playoff games. They start right now.